Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Good Girls Get Rich podcast, the show that's all about helping you step into more wealth, more influence, more impact without sacrificing your peace, your health, or your joy. I'm your host, Karen Yankovich, and today we're talking about something that's really been on my heart lately, because let's be honest, the world is feeling a little bit heavy right now. We are all carrying so much. And if you're anything like me, or like so many of the brilliant, driven women that I get to work with, you're probably holding yourself to some sky high standards right now, right? Trying to do it all and do it all perfectly and do it all authentically while kind of walking your talk, right? So what I'm doing in my world and in my business and what I want to share with you today is the theory that success does not have to come through struggle, right? You don't need to run yourself into the ground to build the life that you want. In fact, the real magic, the success that feels good, it comes when you give yourself permission to slow down, to breathe, and to lead with grace and with ease. So today we're going to talk about why giving yourself grace is not just self-care. It's a strategy for sustainable success. We're going to dive into how you can protect your energy, how you can and should nurture yourself, and how you can still do that and still be showing up as a powerful, successful, wealthy woman making an impact in the world, even when the news is exhausting and the pressure feels relentless. And frankly, business feels crazy. Like I'm getting more and more phone calls that are like, Karen, I don't even know how to move forward in my business right now, right? But stick around, because at the end of this episode, I'm going to gift you something that's a little bit of a short reflection, a moment just for you, something I've never done on this episode, on this podcast before, because I want you to reconnect a little bit with that calm, with that confident vision of yourself, right? That version of yourself that's already within you. All right. So grab a cup of coffee, maybe find some quiet space, because this episode is for you, my friend. This episode is for you. So where do we want to start with this? I want to start by talking about the importance of grace for yourself. So often we are called to give grace to others, or we choose to give grace to others. I enjoy giving grace to others, right? But I need to also remember that I need to give grace to myself. And this, all the heaviness in the world right now is important to me. It's important that I show up in a way that is in authenticity with my values, right? With my values. So this is a timely topic for me because it's baby steps for me. It's baby steps for me. I'm committed that I want to put my money into small businesses. I want to put my money and my effort and my energy into businesses that have the same values that I have and support the same visions for the world and for humanity that I have. And that's not always the easy thing, right? It's not always the easy thing. It's really easy to just like pick up your phone, right? And go into Amazon and quickly have something delivered. And I mean, I live in Northern New Jersey. I can have it delivered this afternoon, right? And I'm still doing that because I'm giving myself grace, but I am looking for alternatives, right? I'm looking for ways that I can still have it feel like ease and give myself the grace of I'm stepping slowly through this. The pressure's high achieving women are often pushing themselves to the edge. And I don't want success to feel like burnout, certainly not for me and certainly not for you. So we're going to talk today about how to create ease in your life and in your business while you are still making an impact. Society tells women we need to do it all and we need to do it all perfectly. And I've talked about this before, right? Like there's a video, if I can find it, I'll link to it in the show notes, a commercial from a million years ago. I can bring home the bacon and fry it up in a pan, right? Like it's exhausting to do it all, right? We don't have to do it all, and we don't have to do it all perfectly, right? We're often hardest on ourselves, we're often hardest on ourselves. Maybe if you've been listening for a while, I don't know, maybe that I've had a crazy 6 months. I moved, had, some personal issues with my dad passed, and my mom needed a lot of support and selling her house and just a lot. Right. And I'm running my business, and, I can go on. There's been a lot. There's just been a lot. And I am hardest on myself, right? Like I need to do all these, I need to be all these things to all these people. And if I'm not doing it all, then I feel guilty, right? Then I feel guilty even when I'm doing probably more than many people that are in my life, right? So I have to continue to remind myself that having to do it all is a myth. It is not reality. It is never going to be the right answer for anybody in my life. Sure as heck, not me or my mom or the other people or my clients, right? It's not going to be the answer. Nobody's going to, I'm not going to be able to serve the people I want to serve if I burn myself out to get there, right? So doing it all is a myth. And we need to dispel that myth today, right here, right now. I am embracing, and I firmly believe with every fiber of my body that grace and ease are essential for our success. Giving yourself grace is not laziness, it's sustainability, right? Like having more grace in your life. Doesn't that feel good? First of all, doesn't it feel good when you just say that? Say that out loud, right? I want to embrace more grace in my life. And the grace, yes, there's giving grace to other people, I think is a big part of that because it helps your energy, right? If you're constantly bickering or annoyed by other people, that's one energy. I choose to have grace. And, maybe the guy that just cut me off on the highway is on his way to take his wife to, deliver her baby. Who knows, right? So grace in my energy is not about laziness, right? It's about sustainability, having boundaries around all of the things that are going on and creating my day and my world in a way that is sustainable. And that makes me more successful. And that's what I want you to understand, right? Success comes from when you operate from a place of alignment, not exhaustion, right? And it is something that you have to continue to remind yourself of. I know that there's a lot of stuff out there and I read it all and I probably talk about some of it where, how do you start your morning? Do you start it with meditation? Do you end your day? Are you doing hypnosis and meditation? And those modalities are so important in my life. But you know what I need? I need a midday circuit breaker because a couple hours in, I need to remind myself of that alignment and not that exhaustion. I need to pick the one or two things each day that are important to get done and know that once those things get done, I'm in alignment. And then, I'm not going to exhaust myself, but what else is on my to-do list that I can knock out today, right? The wealthiest, most influential women on this planet have strong boundaries and prioritize ease, right? Think about that. Think about the people the women that you want to emulate or that you feel a connection to. I don't know. I mean, for me, they're not the women that are running around like crazy people. They are prioritizing ease in their life. And that ease comes when you nurture yourself, when you show up in a stronger and wiser way, bringing that grace into your life. That, my friend, is what makes you more magnetic. And that magnetic energy is at the heart of everything that I teach, everything in this podcast. When you are in alignment, you are magnetic and you're not out there pitching and you're not out there pounding the pavement and you're not out there pitching, writing 500 LinkedIn connection requests to see if somebody responds, if something sticks to the wall, right? You are more magnetic the more you are in alignment and the more you show up stronger and wiser. And I know, at least in my world, and I know for many of the people that listen to this show, that there is such an emotional weight to what is happening in the world right now. So it's normal to feel drained with all of this. I honestly feel like in 10 years or 20, I don't know what 10 years or 20 years is going to look like to us, right? But I feel like we're going to look back at this period of time, like the 20s, right? Starting at 2020 and certainly through 2025 and go, what the F? How did we even get through all of that, right? It is normal to feel drained. It is not normal to have the weight that we've had on us, worldwide pandemics, democracy at stake. It is normal to feel drained by all of this. Okay. So what I struggle with, and maybe you do too. And I wish I had an answer for you on this. I'll tell you what I do and, we'll see if it works for you, but I can tell you right now, it is not a perfect answer. I am trying to balance staying informed without getting completely emotionally depleted. Right. And I I don't want to stick my head in the sand. It's important to me that I know what's happening in the world, and not just politically, right? I mean, here's the thing. At the heart of everything I do is I want more women to have more money, because more women with money can change the world. And I believe we're in a world right now that needs that. So if I'm not paying attention to what's happening in the world, then there's a disconnect between what I'm teaching and the mission behind everything I teach, and and the reality, right? So there's a part of me that it's important to me to stay informed, but I want to do it in a way that is not completely emotionally depleting me. So what does that mean? There are different people that I follow that I feel like are informative, but not emotionally informative. I'm not getting the drama. I'm just getting like the facts to the best of everybody's ability, right? I create boundaries around my consumption of the news, what stations I'm watching. Sometimes I'll watch somebody that I really enjoy and I'll get 5 minutes into it and go, yeah, no, I'm done. I can't listen to this anymore. Right. Social media, I have blocked or hidden more people in the last couple of weeks than probably in my entire use of social media in all the years I've been using social media. In fact, I'm not really engaging much on social media anymore. I'm on LinkedIn because I'm on social media for business, and then obviously some personal stuff like friends and family. I really do enjoy that part of social media. There's family members that I get to know what's going on in their life that 10 years ago I didn't, right? Because we didn't really, or 20 years ago we didn't have social media, so I didn't know when they're pictures of their babies or when their kids were graduating or pictures of their weddings, right? It's so people I graduated high school with, that I went to grammar school with. I enjoy that part of social media. So I'm trying to create boundaries around my social media use and the conversations that drain me. I get to choose who I allow into my energy, right? And so do you. I want to protect that energy because I want to be effective, not reactive. And trust me when I tell you, I can be reactive, right? So I choose not to. I am choosing not to be reactive. And boundaries and protecting my energy helps that, right? Helps that. And again, that makes me more magnetic, right? Who the heck wants to hang out with somebody that is constantly reactive and constantly, spitting out all kinds of crazy stuff, right? I choose my energy and I choose how I want to show up. So let's talk about a couple of practical ways, right, to give yourself that grace and to cultivate more ease in your life and in your business. First of all, schedule it. Build intentional buffer time in your week and in your day, right? I don't know if you guys can see back here on this. Oh, if you're listening, you got to turn this on YouTube. But back here on this piece of driftwood, I invested recently in a couple more sets of mala beads. I need a midday break and I'll grab a set of mala beads and I'll sit in a quiet place and I'll just kind of meditate for 15, 20 minutes. I schedule that in. That is part of the grace that I give myself every day. I've also rescheduled my week, right? I've looked at my Calendly and I've rescheduled. I'm not shrinking the time that I'm available, but I am putting boundaries around the time that I'm available, right? I'm choosing this day and this day is when I do this type of work, and this day I do that type of work. And I build intentional buffers around that. So I'm not all over the place all the time, right? So that's the first way, practical way to give yourself some grace and to cultivate some ease. The second way is to reframe rest. I want you to see rest as a power move, not a weakness. Okay. I am not a napper. I have never been a napper in my entire life, but I am trying to reframe what a midday rest looks like. Or maybe I'll just hang out another hour. I'm an early morning person, but maybe I'll hang out an extra hour in bed. Maybe I'll I have an adjustable bed. Maybe I'll put the back up and grab the remote and, binge something on TV if I don't have a busy morning, right? I'm reframing this and I'm thinking of it as a power move, not as a weakness. Okay. The third way that I'm giving myself grace and cultivating ease is saying no more often. Every time you say yes, it must serve your highest vision. I want you to hear that again. Every time you say yes, it must serve your highest vision. You know that a big part of the work that I do around here is helping you with visibility, right? But if saying yes to an interview in front of the wrong audience is not serving your highest vision, right? So I want you to say yes, but also remember that you can say no. And I want you to say no more often. I want you to be so picky about what it is you do and make sure that it serves your highest vision, because guess what? It opens up the pathway. It leaves the space for more of those perfect opportunities. Okay. Now, the next one, the fourth one I'm going to talk about is it's something that's important to me. Maybe you're not the same kind of person. I already mentioned I'm a morning person. I protect my mornings. I like slow mornings. I like slow mornings. It's morning-ish when I'm recording this right now. I've got tea in one cup. I've got coffee in another cup. I've got water over here too. I I make tea. I put a pot of coffee on. I start with tea. I'll meditate. I'll grab a set of those mala beads and then I'll meditate a little bit in the morning. I like to sit in a special spot and just kind of breathe and think about what my day looks like, a little bit of visualizing what my day and my life looks like. But to me, a peaceful morning sets the tone for my success and sets the tone for a successful day. Okay. The fifth thing I want you to think about that is a practical way to give yourself grace and cultivate more ease is micro moments of self-care. Okay. Self-care doesn't mean run a bath and sit in the bath for an hour or go drive to the top of a mountain and sit there and chant for 2 hours. It can be a 5-minute energy shift, right? A 5-minute energy shift. There's a little pond right near where I live. And just to walk around that pond is not a half an hour there and back. And, it's, to me, that's a micro moment. Or I can just walk outside. I mean, it's a little cold here in New Jersey right now, but I could just walk outside or just even look outside, right? And just have that 5-minute energy shift. Or if it's even can just be breath, it can even just be breathing, right? Like there's apps on your phone. Let me see if I can find the app that I'm thinking of right now, but there's an app that I use that somebody recommended to me a while back called Welltory, Welltory. And basically you put your finger on it and it checks your blood pressure and your heartbeat and all that other stuff. And please don't take medical advice from me, right? But it's just what I do. My HRT, heart rate variability, right? I can tell you that if I'm not taking that 5 minutes to shift my energy before I measure my HRV, I get a very different result than if I take that 5 minutes, right? So if that is the case, if my physical body measures differently from that little micro moment of self-care, think about how valuable that can be in your energetic being as you go through your day, and how valuable that can be to having a day filled with grace as instead of a day filled with stress and anxiety, right? And the last thing that I want to talk about is a practical way to give yourself grace and cultivate ease is to stop the negative self-talk and replace it with affirming thoughts. And, it's just a thing, right? It's just a thing that we sometimes do, or that I sometimes do. And if you are having, and I can think of some clients that I've had this conversation with where they're talking to me and they'll be like, oh yeah, well, I'm terrible at tech. And I'm like, how can you reframe that, right? How can you reframe that? You can reframe that as I've had some troubles with tech in the past, but I'm committing to being more, more aligned with the tech in my life as I move forward, right? Like stop the negative self-talk and put out to the universe the positive affirming things that are so important to you, and let the universe, if you don't do this, then how can anybody know what it is to give you? Because you're all you're talking about is the negative things, right? You've got to focus on the positive things or reframe these things to be positive. So let's talk about how all of this ties into the topic at hand for this show and for all the shows I publish here on Good Girls Get Rich. And that is, how does this all tie back to wealth and influence? I believe in my heart of hearts that you do not need to hustle to be wealthy. You need to be intentional. Operating from grace makes you more magnetic to these opportunities and to success, and helps people want to be more in your energy. Okay. And that, all the work we do in She's Linked Up in our membership program and in the private work that I do with clients is about building influence that feels aligned and empowered and not exhausting. I want you to feel aligned and empowered and have opportunities just being drawn to you. I do not want you to be exhausted and nobody wants to be in that energy, right? So it's an important part of the work we do. It's why, as much as I love strategy, and I can talk about strategy all day and all night, if strategy alone is not the answer. Our energy and our alignment is almost more important than the strategy. So what I'm going to do now, I mentioned to you that I had a gift for you. I am going to give you a moment of grace right now. And I would suggest that you save this episode and come back to this over and over often as you need. Maybe this is your midday break that we talked about earlier, right? That micro moment of self-care. Okay. So if you're driving, I suggest that you either pause this now and listen to it later, or know that, this is intended to be like a guided reflection. So I want you to be safe. So listen to this in a place that you're safe. What we're all going to do right now, what you and I are going to do right now, is just take a deep breath together. All right. So just take a deep breath in, hold it, and then release that deep breath. Wherever you are, just allow yourself to settle in for a moment. Taking another deep breath in and releasing that deep breath. Maybe you've been rushing all day. Maybe your mind is moving a mile a minute. Right now, I am giving you permission to pause. So inhale deeply through your nose and hold this for a moment. And exhale slowly. And I want to ask you a few gentle questions. Okay, and I want you to ask yourself these few gentle questions. Where in my life am I pushing too hard? Where in my life am I pushing too hard? Where can I allow more ease and more grace in my life? Where can I allow more ease and more grace? What would it feel like to truly trust that I am already enough? What would it feel like to truly trust that I am already enough? Now, I want you to imagine yourself 1 year from today, the version of you who has mastered grace and ease and flow. She is powerful. She is successful, and yet she moves with lightness. She has space in her day. She has peace in her heart. She's creating wealth and influence and impact without struggle. Breathe in that energy, breathe in that future vision of you, and let it settle into your body. Just sit here for a couple seconds. Breathing in that future version of you. Let it settle in. Feel the feels, smell the smells, touch the feelings, hear what you hear. And now bring your focus back to this moment. Know that the path to the future starts with the small acts of grace today. Giving yourself permission to rest, to say no, to breathe. One final deep breath in. Hold that breath. And then exhale. And when you're ready, open your eyes or come back to the present moment and remember, you are worthy of grace right now, exactly as you are. Remember that grace is not a luxury, it's a necessity. This one simple action, just giving yourself that couple minutes to envision the thoughts we did together. It's you're already inviting more ease into your life. I don't know if you've gotten our taken our quiz yet. If you go to linkedinquiz.com, we incorporate morning visualizations into our quiz. So if you haven't grabbed the quiz yet, you totally want to do that. It's something you can spend the morning doing every morning, depending on your results of your quiz. Everybody gets a different visualization depending on your type. And it's just a great way to start your morning. And again, do it in the middle of the day too, right? I sometimes I joke that I am the only LinkedIn strategist that talks about your power chakra at the same time. I do that because the women that I work with, they're overachieving women, and often there aren't people telling us that we need more ease in our life so that we can grow our influence and grow our success. So I want to be that person for you. I want to be that person for you. So what I'd love for you to do, if this episode today was valuable to you, first of all, if we're not already connected on LinkedIn, we should be. Connect with me on LinkedIn and DM me and let me know how you're giving yourself grace this week. Or even better, share this episode on your social media, on your LinkedIn, or wherever you hang out, and share there where you're giving yourself grace this week, and encourage your audience to do the same thing. I believe that in that rising tide that lifts all boats. And I do this podcast every week for you. And with you sharing it with your audience, hopefully my words will be able to help more people, but also it helps me help you and helps me continue to do this, right? So it's win, win, win. So I have never done anything like this before on this podcast. I've done it in the private work. If we've worked together on a consulting arrangement or in our She's Linked Up program, then these little visualizations are not new to you. But if you haven't experienced them yet, I hope that it helps you, and know that I am here for you. I am working every day to build more grace and ease into my life, and I am here to support you to do the same. I will see you back here again next week with another episode of the Good Girls Get Rich podcast.